Correct.
Okay, she's about to bang you down. All right.
Good morning. The Finance Committee is called to order at, I have 9:36. We have all members present, that being Alderwoman Finlayson to my left, and Alderwoman Karma O'Neill is on the screen via Skype, and we also have Alderman Gay as a attendee. At this point, I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move approval of the agenda as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 3rd, 2024.
Move approval of the minutes from the January 3rd meeting.
All in favor signify, need a second?
Second.
Sorry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. So, I'm always asked this when we discuss fund transfers and supplemental appropriations. I just want to make sure that supplemental appropriations, people, when they watch this, they're like, oh, you're increasing the budget, you're increasing the budget. The supplemental appropriations, which are on the agenda tonight, they increase the budget from revenue not anticipated in the budget. And then with fund transfers greater than $25,000, they're transfers from either within a fund or from one fund to another, or from contingency fund like we have today, or from bond proceeds or whatever. So again, it's not clear, just a budget increase. So just want to make that clear. The first one we have is DPW, fund transfer 6-24, and I believe we have a deputy director, Ms. Patrick, to discuss it. Hi.
Good morning. Marcia Patrick, Assistant Director of Public Works. So the fund transfer we're requesting is from salaries and benefits of our buildings and facilities division to the contractual services in the amount of $95,600. So we have some unfilled positions. So we had additional salary money remaining. And the good news about that is we have some qualified applicants who have applied. So we're, trying to go through that process. But we've had to outsource some work that otherwise could be done by these employees. And also, we need additional funding for some of the guards that we have that were added to our budget late in the year
some of the
last
what,
year.
Marcia?
The armed guard was added after our budget was submitted last year. So the additional funding is required for that.
What is that?
Is that the armed guard?
The armed
that's here
guard.
at
So we
City
have an
Hall?
armed and an unarmed guard.
In DPW budget?
It's in our facilities budget.
In
That's where it's
facilities
managed.
budget.
However, the
Okay,
people are managed by our risk manager,
Okay.
but we just pay the bills.
okay. I did not know that. That's Director Dickinson?
Yes, Jody Dickinson, Finance Director. I just wanted to say that there's the guard here, and there's also somebody, an unarmed guard over at Gorman Street Building. So we're keeping 2 of them now, and that's part of the reason for the increase.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Okay.
Right. So it should be included in our submittal for FY25.
Right,
So anyway, we're just transferring salary money
okay, to take care of it for this, for now, okay.
as well as other work too that needs to be done.
I don't want to belabor it, but I do have a follow-up question. Have the security guards always been in
Yes.
your budget?
Yes.
Okay, and we've always had 2?
No. The second one was added, I believe, maybe in April of last year. I
Okay.
think for a while the police were performing that duty, and then they said, we need our officer on the street.
Right.
So an outside guard was hired, and that's the gentleman sitting at the door.
Okay.
That you saw
So it is
today.
an anticipated expense going forward.
Yes, it is. And then the unarmed guard is now stationed at 145 Gorman Street.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Alderman O'Neill, are you all set? Okay, then I'll,
All set.
all right, I'll accept a motion for a favorable recommendation for FA 6-24. FT dash 6-24.
Madam Chair, I'll move a favorable recommendation for FT 624.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're going in order, so you'll have to come back for the essay. Yeah, is she gonna, yeah, stay, okay. The second one is FT 7-24, Office of Emergency Management. We have 2 representatives from the Office of Emergency Management to speak to it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kevin Simmons, Director, Office of Emergency Management.
My name is Taylor Bond, and I'm the grant coordinator for the Office of Emergency Management.
Okay,
So this is for Stanton Center warming relief. And Madam Chair, you know the credo, right? You have it by heart.
yeah, no one dies of the cold in the city of Annapolis,
No one dies from exposure on the streets of Annapolis.
right?
So this year, we've seen a drastic increase in patrons. Typically, the program shelters about 10 to 21 people a night. On busy nights, we've seen up to 40 and 50. So when that happens, when we have an influx of patrons, here's what happens. We need additional sleeping cots, blankets, need additional cleaning and laundering supplies, hygiene kits we need more of, additional food, and what's really impacting our budget is the overnight supervision staff. So typically it's 2 people. Now, when you have upwards of 40 to 50 patrons, that's $720 a night. They making minimum wage for 4 people, $720 a night. When we have a staff of 2, that's $360 a night. So we've had multiple nights of $760, and it's really impacting our budget. So with over 30 activations left in the season, it's estimated that $23,000 will be needed to manage the program through April 30th. So that's salaries, supplies, food, etc. Currently, there's $8,000 remaining in the program's budget. So we're requesting the difference of $15,000 to see us through the remainder of the season. We do have a grant that we expect. We applied for a grant, a FEMA United Way grant for $10,000. We've been approved for that. We just don't know when we're going to receive it. And this $8,000 will be exhausted by when?
Probably by the end of this month.
Right. So we're asking for $15,000 to help us through the season.
What's the
Now we-
policy again for the temperature?
32 degrees.
Yeah, it's been cold nights, and the staff is from the staff is from your department that stay overnight.
So we have a nonprofit, Blessed in
Okay,
Tech.
that's okay. That's what
We do administrative oversight. They manage it night by night.
questions.
I do have a question. So how much does it cost per night? Because 15,000 doesn't sound like it's going to be enough. If 8,000 is going to get you through the end of this month, and you potentially still have another month and a half.
Right. So last night we had 25 males and 4 females. We had 29. So with 29, that's 3 attendants overnight. That's 3 attendants. I don't know what it is about this year, but typically we don't see high numbers in the 20s until this time of year. When we first started back in November, when we started accepting folks, we started seeing the high numbers that early, which we don't normally see. So we had that cold snap with the snow, and we opened it up for 24 hours. And we had upwards of 50 folks. If you can think back to 2016 when we had Winter Storm Jonas, that was like 35 folks, and that was the highest we've ever seen. So we're hoping, and Taylor and I are going to have a meeting. They have the Arundel House of Hope on 514 North Crane Highway. They're trying to mimic what we do at the Stanton Center, but it's in the county and all. We're trying to get with them and see if we can combine resources and staff and talk about how we get a lot of folks from Glen Burnie area. So how we can make sure that the folks in Glen Burnie kind of utilize that warming center and not come all the way out to Annapolis. So we're going to try to work with them. And this is their first year. And they don't see the numbers that we see, but I don't think the word is out that they're up and running and all. But we've been doing this for 14 years, and everybody knows the Stanton Center. Everybody knows the Stanton Center.
So where is the one in Glen, you said, is it in Glen Burnie or?
It's in Glen Burnie, is 514 North Crane Highway, Suite B. And that's run by the county and all, and I'm glad they opened it up.
Yeah.
It takes some of the pressure off of the Stanton Center, because right now, all police officers, both our police officers, Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, if they find somebody 2 o'clock in the morning, they need to get them somewhere, they'll take them to the Stanton Center. And we've been having problem over the years with even folks coming across the bridge, dropping them off at the Stanton Center. Mm-hmm. So we're up, we're running, we're reliable, we shelter people, we keep people from dying on the street. And everybody knows that. Crisis response brings them, hospital sends them, and also, this will be great to kind of join forces with the Arundel House of Hope and have a center down in Glen Burnie. So those folks that are coming from Baltimore and Glen Burnie to the Stanton Center, they can stop off and get winter relief and warming relief there instead of coming all the way out to the Stanton Center.
Do we know where they're coming from, the increase in numbers?
I just think it's just the economic situation and the way things are. I just think it's a lot of people struggling, being unhoused with jobs, and then you throw in mental health issues, then you throw in substance use disorder. So you have this avalanche of folks that need some attention. And the thing about the Stanton Center is that we're the warming center of last resort. We don't turn anybody away. When they come in, they go through an intake process. They can't come in with drugs. They can't come in with alcohol. We confiscate any weapons, and we have been confiscating weapons and all. But we don't turn anybody away. With the rotating churches, if you're impaired in some type of way, you're not getting in. If you had a weapon or something, you're not getting in. We're the shelter of last resort. And everybody knows that. And where you can't get in any place else, you can get into the Stanton Center.
And when we confiscate weapons, you say we confiscate the weapons or we turn them away with their weapons?
So they would have things like a legal pen knife. The other day, they confiscated a pen knife and all that. You know, this is not easy to manage because you have a lot of folks with mental health issues and you have a lot of folks with substance use disorder. And then you have skirmishes, you have challenges, you have medical challenges. Crisis response is known to come there a couple of times a week. I was there earlier this week where we actually called APD to come in for a disruptive person. During the weekdays, I come there at 6:30 every morning just to lay my eyes on stuff, to see what's happening, to make sure I know what's going on in my program. So I'm there 6:30 every morning, you know. So as Alderwoman O'Neill knows, we hit a bump in the road when we had the snow and we were sheltering them for 24 hours. The nonprofit ran out of food. There was we went at breakneck speed to make sure that all the folks, and we were talking about 50-some folks there, were fed, and the community chipped in, and we corrected that void there. So we haven't had any problems since. But you know, it's a lot of things that happen with that place. But all in all, we have a good warming shelter that's been serving the community for 14 years, and nobody dies from exposures on the street of Annapolis, and nobody has in 14 years.
And are we thinking ahead when the Stanton Center is being renovated, how we will handle or where you'll go?
So Director Johnson and I have had a couple of conversations, and we have a meeting in March to discuss that.
I'll be using Pitt Moyer.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderwoman O'Neill, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say that I fully support this because of the need. I got to see firsthand during the snowstorm, the operation, the folks that are there during intake, the folks that are doing the overnight, providing food and resources for people, some of our most vulnerable, the unhoused that are coming in. So this is something that's not going to go away. And we really need to be taking a good look at it. And that's a good question, Alderwoman Finlayson, about what we're going to do during the renovations. And we have been reaching out to some community partners to see how they can help support us as we also support them. So,
Just my last question is, has Blessed and Tech had input in this remaining money necessary, or?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Has Blessed and Tech been involved in estimating what money you need?
Yes, we keep them apprised, and
I mean, as far as resources.
and any needs or resources, they actually speak directly with Taylor. Taylor actually manages and does the administrative oversight.
Okay.
And they are in the loop, and they've been a great partner.
Okay.
They've been a great partner.
Okay, well, I'll accept a motion for favorable.
I'll move a favorable recommendation for FT 724.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Was there an? I heard a no. Annual cost.
Taylor, you have that information.
So what we used in the budget previously, I believe, was 34,200, and we're requesting 15,000 additional on top of that. So I'm not sure exactly what that total number is, but this has been a year that we've seen a lot more than previous years.
Okay. And you
Alderman Gay.
Alderman Gay.
A lot more cold weather dates?
No, we've seen more patrons. So,
So are you paying per date or per head?
we pay attendance.
Okay.
And the attendance are based on how many people are utilizing it.
Okay, all right, that's what, okay.
So let me help you with that, Alderman. So here's some stats. 2020 to 2021 winter season, we had 85 activations. That's how many times we opened. And we had 947 overnight referrals. And then we had 81 day referrals. Day referrals are when we open for 24 hours. So we had 81 people taking advantage when we opened it up for 24 hours. So in the 2021 to 2022 winter season, we had 85 activations, the same as the year before. We only had 406 overnight referrals compared to 947 the year before. And we had the same 81 day referrals.
This is, I obviously think it's important that just echoing, this speaks to the severe issue that we have in Anne Arundel County, just as we were talking about last night. There is no shelter. The city is becoming a shelter. We're literally becoming a shelter because people can't go to Sarah's house. They can't go to the lighthouse or, any of these places in the city. It's crazy. Housing is an issue.
I just wanted to add
Yes.
a couple of things,
I
sorry.
didn't see your hand, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm hiding behind the podium here. Vicky,
Can you introduce yourself?
yeah, Vicky Buckland, Assistant City Manager. So I'll add two things. One is, as OEM indicated, so the staffing is stepwise depending upon the number. But there's also, like, we're seeing more families, it's a larger mix, which also then means those folks have to be more separated, which impacts your staffing need as well. The other thing is then, to speak to the point you just made, I'm not sure how, I personally haven't been involved in the continuum of care here in Anne Arundel County or its Interagency Commission on Homelessness. But there is a forum for advocacy around some of those issues. And to the extent that the city might want to lean into that opportunity, that would make some sense to me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The next one we have is it's kind of it's weird in this. We're getting more ambulance fees, which means there's more emergencies. But who is here to speak to that? It is
Captain McGill.
Oh, yes, Captain Guz. Thank you. It's SA 22-24.
Yeah, Captain Amy Migueth with the police department.
Yeah.
So these are the 911 fees that Anne Arundel County gets. Basically, on everyone's cell phone bill, there's a portion of the bill that says it's 911 fees. We get a portion of that from the county. The county gets a bigger pool of it. They apportion out our section of it because we are a secondary public safety answering point for 911. Our dispatchers answer 911 calls. So the budgeted amount was 300,000 for this year. That's what we were scheduled to receive, our estimate of what we were scheduled to receive. We're getting, and that actually was for last fiscal year. You can,
The message is the same. We received more than we had anticipated. This extra amount actually came from FY23 911 fees because there's such a long delay in when they send us the quarterly fees. We typically get the last quarter of 23 in November of 23. So our June 30 quarter comes in November. So these monies came from last year's fees, and they were over and above our total budget that we allowed for. So we use this to cover cost of, and she can speak to what they use it for.
The money is used to offset dispatch salaries. It has to be used for certain things. We were just talking about this in another meeting. Even our police radios, we can't use this 911 money for communication equipment like that. It has to be directly phone related. It can be for the salaries of the people who answer the phones. It can be for other infrastructure involving the phones, but it cannot even be used for like our radio system.
Could you explain how the revenue works? Is it based on number of calls, or is it based on number of phone users that have this percent to their bill, or could you explain?
I'm not sure how it's calculated by the county.
Yeah, I cannot speak to it specifically. I know it has to do with the phones that are within the county have that fee applied, and the state collects them and apportions them according to the location of the phone. In general, that's my understanding, and I don't know the particulars about if somebody lives there or where the bill goes, how they associate it, but it's a portion for Anne Arundel County, and they're giving us a portion of Anne Arundel County. But to specifics, I can't tell you what the calculation is.
So it's not based on incoming calls, like I assumed? No.
No, it's the 911 fees that are assessed on people's phone bills.
That's it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Questions? Alderwoman Finlayson?
Yes, I do. So this 127,000 is in addition to the 300,000.
So when we establish the budget every year, we have to estimate how much we're going to get. We had been getting, the $300,000 is a budget amount from a while back, and for the past couple of years, we have ended up getting more than we thought we were going to get. So for this next year, for 25 budget, we're going to increase the budgeted amount to be more in line with what we're actually receiving the last couple of years.
So the question is, though, did we now get 428,000 instead of the 300,000?
So I can't tell you how much we're actually going to receive.
I thought you said this was last.
For 23, yes.
Yeah.
But for this year, I can't tell because we've only gotten one payment so far. Because there's such a delay in the remittance.
So is the money allocated to 23 or 24?
No, 24, because we get revenues so late in the year, we can't attribute them to the year before.
Okay.
We have a 90-day cutoff for that type of revenue recognition.
Okay, but we do know how much we received in 23.
Yes.
And we're going to assume that it was about 300,000. And that this 127,000 is in addition to that amount.
I would have to tell you, to look up the exact amount, I'd have to look it up in our FY23 financial statements. Yes, at least 300,000 in 23.
Okay. So this is an addition. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yes.
Is there an increase, and I know you just answered the Alderwoman's question about how it's allocated. Is there any indication that the calls for service have increased? Or there's no telling since we don't know what generates this fund?
I don't have our call data in front of me as far as how many 911 calls we receive. Certainly something that we keep track of. But I believe that Ms. Dickinson's right, that the 911 fee isn't based on the call volume, but rather on the amount of phones being charged that 911 fee in our geographic area. So if people are paying the fee, they're giving us a portion of that, no matter how many calls we get or not.
So I misunderstood.
And that's kind of a separate subject, really, because I'm just interested in whether we have
Right.
more people calling for
Yeah.
service.
Right.
Sorry, I misunderstood. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And you
Okay.
usually have that information at budget time, so.
Yeah, no, we do have it. I just don't have it at hand. And sometimes we don't parse out 911 versus
Right.
other phone calls because they all take up time for our dispatchers. But for this case, with the money involved, it would be interesting.
Okay. Alderwoman O'Neill has a question.
Thank you very much. I do have a quick question. Talking about the delay in us receiving the funds, if we could have Director Dickinson give us the total amount received for FY23, and this is going into FY24, and you're going to increase for FY25 the budgeted amount. I would just like to see the progression of that, because if this is part of the 300 that we expected in 23 but didn't get,
We got
Because-
yeah.
Or did get.
Did get.
I'm certain we got at least 300,000 in 23. What I don't know, was it from 22 or was it 23 quarters? That's the kind of thing I'd like to put in a schedule, because there's always a delay. We're always on a delay on the quarters, so
a year
that's why I'm
delay.
unclear. I don't want to answer the question about how much we received. I'd have to go back and show you each quarter, how much we received and when we received it and what year it lined up with on the fiscal year statements. So
Yeah.
okay,
So,
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
so to add to that, what, do we know 2024 coming in? Probably.
we can only estimate based on what we're getting in quarterly payments, gives us some kind of guide as to what the total might be.
Yeah.
But like I said, over the past few years, it's been climbing.
Yeah.
So it goes up as the number of cell phones goes up.
Well, if we got 127 as a quarterly payment, we can assume that maybe 4 times 127 is how much we get.
Yeah. I mean, I assume it's based on, well, on subscribers, so how many, more subscribers in a year? Yeah. The delay is unfortunate, though.
Yes, it
It's-
makes it hard for us
Yeah.
to,
Is there anything we can do
Predict.
about that?
I'll just tell you that it has to come from the phone companies.
Yeah.
They collect it, right? And then they have to send it to, I think there's a board or something that collects these fees and distributes them, some kind of agency of the state that collects all the fees. So it's got to come from the phone companies, then to the state, and then the state's got to redistribute them, and that's probably the major cause of the delay.
Okay.
Well, may I follow up? So now I'm a little more confused. No surprise. Are we talking $24? $24?
So, I'm sorry, thinking about that again. I think that.
Oh, your mic's not on.
Sorry, thank you.
No problem.
There's a difference between the time period where where people got assessed the fee on their phone bill, and later on, then we end up actually seeing the money, right? I don't know whether that time lag is relatively consistent or whether it's variable. So the question for me is whether, regardless of when the fees got collected, do we usually end up with 4 quarterly payments related to some time period every year? And if the answer to that is yes, even though there's a lag, then we would expect the budgeted amount and the received amount to be relatively consistent and not jump around, where this year we only got 3 of the 4, this year we got 5, right? As long as that it's pretty much 4 every year, then we should be able to look at that fairly consistently. That's something that I think is probably worth exploring a little bit. But I think it's easy to get caught in that time lag and talking about when were the fees assessed. But for our purposes, in some sense, it doesn't matter quite so much. When does it show up matters more, just given the size of the lag. Is that fair, Jody?
Yeah, that was a pretty good explanation of, what's going on, and I'm almost sure that we have 4 in every year. The delay has always been this slow, and I'm sure it's got to do with something in the mechanism of processing the receipts. But, and so that's why I want to check back to 23, having 4 quarters, how much did we get from 23, whether it was 22 related or not, that kind of thing.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm not concerned about the delay, as you said, because we can't control any of that. But what we can control, or what we can identify, is when the funds come in. And the question is whether this is part of the 300,000 for 2024 or something from 2023. But it's 2024 is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
And it all starts with when people pay their phone bills. So stuff we can't control. Alderman Gay, you had a quick question?
And just for clarity, I was like you. So this is coming from, if we called 911, the phone company is putting a charge on. Where is it?
No, it's on your phone bill, just your regular monthly phone bill. Every phone bill, whether it's a cell phone and landlines, not as many people have landlines. There's a fee charged by the U.S. government for 911 infrastructure. The cost of all the upgrades that have to be done, all those things. There's a fee charged to every person who gets a phone bill.
And you said you can only use the revenue for communication devices, so it can only be for either paying for the cell phone or the person answering the cell phone?
No, we can only use the money in the government. The money that we receive, we can only use it for phone equipment, for paying dispatcher salaries, or for anything related to the phone, but not any communication equipment. We can't use it for our radios. Radios are communication equipment. We can't use it for that.
So $127,000 in phone equipment, what is that? Cases?
Well, it's going to be salaries.
Oh, okay. So you're just going to use this for salaries?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm like, what do you buy $127,000?
We can also so the other thing is the phone equipment includes the console, and those are ergonomic. They're, so those are like major office equipment. So when we need to upgrade, that's something that we look at to use those funds.
Software is included in that?
For the phone system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. At this time, I'll accept a motion for a favorable recommendation.
I'll move a favorable recommendation for SA 2224.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. The next one is SA 23-24, which looks like it's some additional money coming in for the no harm violence prevention, $2,500 coming from the Arts Council of Anne Arundel County. Do we, please come up and introduce yourself? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Council.
Morning.
Good morning, Council. My name is Corinne Mako. I'm the Neighborhood Engagement Specialist for No Harm VIP.
Is her mic on? There you go.
Is it on?
Yes, it's on.
Yeah, just speak into it.
My name is Corinne Mako. I'm the No Harm Engagement Specialist for No Harm VIP.
Yeah. My name is Adetola Jai, African American Community Service Specialist for the Mayor's Office, and I supervise the No Harm program.
So we applied for a grant through the Art Council for a mini it's a mini grant through the Art Council for $2,500 in order to host a art project for the underprivileged communities. So with me going through the LAA program, they assigned us to do vision boards, and I like
Program? Could you, the acronym, what was that?
LAA, the Leadership Anne Arundel. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So she's a graduate of the neighborhood program, neighborhood.
During the course of the program, they assigned us to do vision boards, and I really enjoyed the project because it allowed me to visualize my goals and my aspirations in life. So I wanted to bring that to the students that I work with at the high school. So with doing so, I was able to connect with the Pathways to Peace program as well as the Hood to Good program. And then I had a privilege of allowing the students in the Robinwood community to get pulled out of class every Tuesday for 2 hours to conduct the planning phase of this project. So starting off, it's a multi-day workshop. So starting off, the stage 1, they'll learn about ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, and how some of the things that they might go through living in the underprivileged communities would affect them as an adult if they don't identify it. And then also being able to distinguish their SMART goals. So being able to plan out their short-term goals and long-term goals, and then being able to put their goals and their visions onto a vision board in a creative manner. The next part of that would be actually learning about the different phases of art, so learning about death and learning about collaging and different color coordinations in order to actually make something creative out of like magazine scraps and things of that sort. And with that, I felt as though leaving a positive and powerful image in your mind will make it easier for you to believe and achieve your dreams and goals. The next part of the project is actually a painting workshop. So with a little bit of research that I've done, painting actually is a good coping mechanism if you have dealt with any trauma or unfavorable things in your life. So allowing them to just find something that brings them joy and being able to put it onto a canvas and then maybe hang it up at home. It will remind them of, their why, or why they're wanting to continue to thrive through life. And then at the end of the entire project, I thought it would be a good idea to actually be able to have a celebration where we will be able to display their vision boards and their art projects for their families to come and see and be able to understand what the No Harm program is truly trying to do for these students in high school. Thank you.
So this is what went into your application for the grant?
Yes, we already got accepted for the grant, and from my understanding, the funds were already sent to the city.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to elaborate.
Sounds like a lot for, I don't know how you estimate that, but so the $2,500 is going to be focused on that effort.
Yeah, so the $2,500 is literally just for all of the supplies to be used.
Okay.
And I work for the No Harm program, so the No Harm program is hosting this workshop through school. But yeah.
Okay. I'll rely on Alderwoman Finlayson. I think that pulled out of class might have gotten her ears.
Well, I agree with the Alderwoman. You're doing an awful lot with not a whole lot of money. And so you are to be commended in advance for your plans. Very proud of you with Leadership Anne Arundel.
Thank you.
It's a great foundation, and share your experiences with the young ladies and the young men that you're working with in the community so that they can aspire towards that goal also. So I think you should have asked them for $10,000.
Well, this was the first grant that I ever applied for on my own. So it was I just kind of wanted to get my feet in the water to see if it was something that I would be able to continue to do. And I knew that $2,500 wasn't a lot of money. So with that, I maybe working with between 20 to 50 students with doing so, being able to buy supplies that they can actually take home with them as well and work on it at home. But trying.
Maybe you can display their work at City Hall walls.
Yes. So congratulations.
Thank you. And then I also was able to host a vision board workshop at Bates Middle School with the teachers. So that was another part. Well, Bates Middle School supplied their own materials. I just went in and presented about what the vision board project was so that maybe they could incorporate it into their classroom and connect more with their students as well. So I'm hoping to be able to do that with Annapolis Middle as well. And if the council is willing, maybe we'll be able to do a little partnership activity and we can all make vision boards together too.
We'd love that.
We'd love to.
Well, when Kate's get back.
Speaking for everybody.
Of course, I'm sure
He's shaking his head. No, he'll do it. He'll do it. Thank you.
Alderwoman O'Neill, are you set with okay. Alderman Gay.
Thank you. Is there's two of you, correct? Just two of you?
No, no harm?
Yeah.
It's 3.
Okay. And the operating budget is still 80 or 40?
Yes, 80,000.
Okay, thank you very much. Another program that we should consider budget coming, and I know we just spent significant amount of time talking about expanding no harm in the meetings that we've had with the police department. Alderwoman Karma O'Neill was there when we were doing the security meeting, and they were talking about what they do in Baltimore and in John Hopkins, etc. We have the basis, obviously. We just need to fund the program adequately. So obviously a support of the work they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we give a favorable to SA 2324.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Good luck.
Good luck. All right, so the next one, we do have some questions on SA 25-24.
24.
Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, not that one. It was the developer one I was curious about. Okay, SA 2424. This is OEM. So if you could come up again and explain this $18,000 figure from a initiative grant. It's, again, as always, you've got grant money.
Story of my life, Alderwoman.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Kevin Simmons, Emergency Manager, City of Annapolis.
Taylor Vaughn, Grant Specialist for Office of Emergency Management.
So, folks in my business around the region, we try to help each other. Some of us come from counties that are pretty well-to-do, and some of us don't. So anytime there's money out there, we try to help each other out. So this was a partner in the region who had some unused funds at the end of the grant period. The grant period ended at December 31st. So they kind of reached out to us and said, hey, they know that half my staff is being paid by grant money, their salaries. So they say, could this help you out? Not much, but it's $18,789.28. We'll take it. We will take it. Wow. And this will they'll cover the cost of salaries. The grant period was extended from December 31st, and we can use it until March 15th, which we will be able to do that. We'll be able to start reimbursing for some of the salary expenses. So we always appreciate our partnerships, and we look out for each other. And this is a case of where, we help a lot of other folks, and sometimes folks help us. So this is a ideal model of how we partner and help each other.
So the number came from them, not from what you need.
Yes.
So, yeah. questions?
Not so much a question, but a comment. We get a big URASI grant every year.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the end of the year, they realized they had some money left over. So they awarded it to the agency or agencies that they know do phenomenal work. That's what I'm just saying.
I'll take it.
And so,
I'll
yes,
take it.
congratulations on, this additional funding. And it's because you have proven your worth. So, congratulations.
Thank you for saying so. Thank you.
Alderman O'Neill, do you have any questions? No. I know this is, they came to you. That speaks for itself. At this time, I'll accept a motion for a favorable recommendation.
Madam Chair, I'll move a favorable recommendation for SA 2424.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And at the next meeting, Alderwoman O'Neill, you make all the motions, and then I'll second all of them.
Oh, am I not supposed to make motions?
No.
Oh, what am I doing?
Thank you, Madam Chair and the Finance Committee. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
I know, I'm sort of filling in the gaps. Some of these are so great. I'm overly enthusiastic. Okay, SA 25-24 is DPW, and this is coming. Let's have someone explain this one. Specifically what project it is the missing information. But it's always nice to get money from a developer.
Good morning. Sam Bryce, Public Works.
Good morning.
Ashley Leonard, Assistant City Attorney. So I'm going to preface this with, we entered into a confidential settlement agreement, so I don't know how many details we can put on the record as to developer name, project location, but we can give you sort of a basic outline of what the funds are going to be used to do. And it was part of a bond claim process under a grading permit, and we reached an amicable solution with the grading permit. So it was a grading permit. The applicant didn't do all the work they need to do. We entered into a bond claim. Their bond agent was involved, and the bond agent, the applicant developer, and the city came up with a mutually agreeable solution to how to finish the work, which included a sum of money coming into us.
Mystery solved on the
anonymous. Yeah, so it's not anonymous, it's just confidential, and we do know it's coming in, and it will hopefully resolve all the issues under the grading permit.
Colleagues.
I think Ashley just covered it all. But,
Yeah, I know, that's like
but I can give you further comments if you like.
Do you want to say anything about it?
This is simply the acceptance of bond proceeds so that the city can go out and do the work. And it is based on proposals that had been received, as well as a percentage of overhead to cover some of the city's costs.
Okay.
So may I follow up with the question? So the developer didn't do the work, and so this is payment for not doing the work, and then we will get the work done using these funds.
That is correct. When you have a development, they post a bond to cover the cost of certain improvements. Those improvements can be completed, but not completed sufficiently. And as when you get to the end of the project, what is done is the various city agencies go in, they look at the project, and they develop a punch list of things that had to be corrected. The developer did not correct these items on the punch list, and therefore we called the bond. And as Ashley indicated, as Ashley indicated, we called the bond. There was a negotiation. Negotiation covers the full cost of the punch list items as well as an overhead for the city, and that is what these proceeds are being used for.
So we release the bond minus the cost of
Yeah,
completing the punch
we
list.
released the bonds once we accepted the
Okay.
funding. So we took the funding, and then once the funding was confirmed in our possession, we
Yeah.
released the bonds, and we can proceed to close out the permit.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know, I'm trying not to ask any more questions. Alderman Gay.
Quickly, do they, if a developer, because I don't know, this seems like you could just forego the work and pay the city and then have them do it. Is a developer fined when they don't do, you know?
It's not a fine. So the developer in this case he lined up the contractors to do the work, and he got us proposals for the work. The preference was the city was going to oversee the final work versus the developer in this instance. So I wouldn't say it as the developer is not being cooperative in this case. Yeah, and this is a rare and Sam's been doing this longer. In the 15 years I've been doing public works, we don't tend to get to this point too often.
I think since I've been here, we pulled 3 bonds where we actually had to go out and do the work.
So this is not a usual occurrence. This is sort of a once in a very blue moon.
And there are numerous reasons for that, and I'm talking very generalities. As a government entity, we really don't want to go out and do private work. That's not one of our things we really like to do. The second thing is for contractors and developers, if they have their bond pulled, that has a significant financial impact on them when they go to get their next bond. So it's not something that is particularly that happens usually. As I said, I think I can think of maybe 5 we've done. 2 of them were when I first got here back in the mid 80s. One was early 2000s, and then this is I think the next one we've actually had to pull.
Okay.
I do have a follow-up question.
Go ahead.
So is there a liability to the city now that we have to finish the work?
Sorry.
Is there a liability to the city now that we have to finish the work?
There's a liability. We have to do the work because we've accepted the money, but I don't think there's any additional liability that we're dealing with.
Okay.
We would get the same warranties. I mean, it's the same setup. We're just stepping into the developer's shoes, essentially, with the contractors he hired. And they're known contractors. It's already been vetted by Public Works.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I might be asking the same question. Okay, we did receive the money? It says
Yes.
that we did receive the money.
We did.
And just to clarify, that money will complete the work.
Yes.
And-
Plus will cover city costs.
Okay, you know that for sure.
We have proposals from
Okay.
the engineering firm who has to do the as-built. We have proposals from the contractor who's actually going to be doing the work. So the 2 main costs we've got proposals from, and then we added a percentage to that to cover the city's cost.
Okay. Alderman O'Neill, do you have any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I will propose a favorable recommendation for SA 2524.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to be going into discussion. I will be leaving at 1:15. If we are continuing, Alderwoman Finlayson will continue chairing. Thank you for accommodating my doctor's appointment schedule. Okay, so the next is the crossing guard discussion. Oh, did I miss something?
Jody's hand is up.
Oh, Jody's hand is up. Director Dickinson.
No, I'm just saying the city manager was going to come in for this part of the agenda, so Vicky's going to get him.
Oh, he's coming in for this part of the agenda. Okay. While that's happening, seeing this on the agenda, I looked at the budget, and all I could see in the budget was a line item for the crossing guard supervisor in the police department. So who pays for the guards themselves?
The police department salaries. They're within the police department
They're just
salaries.
not itemized.
The supervisor and several crossing guards.
May I?
Yes.
I think I requested information about this because confused again about where we are with payment for crossing guards. You know, I don't know. Okay. Okay, that's what I think we need. Okay.
Okay. That went before.
There was.
Do you think it's too much? Is that what you're suggesting?
They're not.
I think it's 24, isn't it?
Okay.
But I just want clarification as to
Okay.
where we are with the payment of the crossing guards.
Okay.
Whether we conform to the county's actions or where we are.
Okay. Yeah, we heard, we need to put our mics on. I know Alderman Finlayson's is on because he isn't hearing us talk. So we have the city manager here to talk about this.
Yes, Madam Chair, Michael Malinoff, City Manager. I don't have the specific agenda item if there.
It just says police crossing guards.
Okay. I wanted to have this discussion come before you because, as it turns out, this issue was debated in the last fiscal year 24 budget, if you recall. And at that time, we were seeking additional funds, and the council decided not to support that for whatever reason, and that was your choice. We decided, because of the amount of vacancies in the police department, that they have more than adequate budget to allow for us to increase the funding for these positions, as well as 2 additional camera operators within their budget. So I wanted to frankly, just to keep you informed, to let you know that we can move forward with it. From what I'm told, and Captain Miguez can explain in greater detail, and Jody, that it's going to be at a rate that's competitive with the county and keep these people employed and not have uniforms go out. And the total amount that we've been able to transfer is $69,000 to be able to cover it. And it's within their budget. To give you background of why it exists is we have position vacancies in the current budget that we're looking at for the FY23 liberations. And there are about 30 vacancies of a variety of different makes and shapes in the police department. So that creates what I used to call budget slack. Jody has probably a more professional way of putting it, but it means that you have surplus funds in the police department, and that's enabled us to do this and the 2 camera operators. And so it doesn't necessitate council action. It may in the upcoming budget, but we have enough funds to cover it for this year.
So won't it come before us formally?
We'll be including it in this year's budget,
But,
fiscal year 25.
okay, so it won't come to us as a fund transfer?
No,
This-
you don't need to, because there's enough funds within their budget to cover it. And that's the distinction. We were meeting with the Office of Law to make sure that we weren't doing anything wrong, and the electrical engineer wannabe attorney, who is the assistant city manager, mentioned that the actual transfer, the budgetary request was to transfer money into the budget, and we don't need to.
So can you tell us more specifics on how many crossing guards and then equating it to like their wage? Or
Yeah,
anything?
that would be Captain Miguez.
Yeah, definitely. Captain Amy Miguez with the Annapolis Police Department. So the information that I have, I'm just pulling up our staffing. Give me a minute to get the,
While you're doing that, can Mr. Malinoff speak to the salary? Are we commensurate with what the county is paying?
I can speak to that very
Oh,
quickly.
okay.
So the salary for the county is currently $20 an hour. We moved ours up to $20 an hour. That's for the crossing guard position. There are currently 4 vacancies, which doesn't sound like a lot, but those are morning and afternoon, and all those spots have to be covered by officers. They also cover, some of them can cover more than one school because of the different school hours. The elementary schools are all the same time now, but we do have Bates, which has some crossing areas. And we also have a crossing guard supervisor. Her pay was also increased in proportion to their, so now she's at $25.88 an hour with the increase. County is also offering a $1,000 bonus for completing 6 months. I know, completing 6 months of employment with the county.
Is this contractual work?
They are temporary employees.
Oh.
The supervisor is contractual, but the crossing guards are temporary. We do have a couple that also work downtown during the summer when school's out.
Yeah.
So that's also a use we can use them for, which I think is very helpful during those summer months.
And the logic this is probably a city manager question, the logic in us paying for this versus the county is because we station them in the city for our, specifically.
Right, and some are private, like St. Mary's and private schools. And so.
Right, we handle the crossing by St. Mary's on Duke of Gloucester.
Right.
As well.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's ever been looked at as far as could the county staff all the crossing guards, but I know they have staffing issues as well and have officers working those spots. They actually bring officers in for overtime. Generally, we don't do that. They pay a minimum of 3 hours to every officer working one crossing. It's quite an expense.
Rats, we had the superintendent here last week. We chatted about it.
Well, I thought we had some background on why they're in the city and the county as opposed to in the school system. And I don't remember what the details were, but it had something to do with policing. And I don't remember, but there was a reason. It wasn't an arbitrary decision that we would pick up that slack.
No, I was not necessarily saying the county school district should be the arbiter of them, but rather the county police, their county schools.
I thought that's what Alderwoman Kearney was talking about, because the
but I
superintendent
think
was here last week.
We're given the power to stop traffic and do traffic control. I don't think any power is given to the school districts to do the same.
Like traffic control is a different element.
So,
and when we use them downtown, that's strictly for our use.
and if I remember correctly, the gentleman who's usually downtown spoke to us at one of our meetings.
Yes.
George.
About the salary never being increased. So I think we made a mistake last year when we were doing budget deliberations to not take care of it then. Yes. And Alderwoman O'Neill can tell you who voted for it, who voted against it. Anyway, Mr. Malinoff, I'm really pleased that you've taken care of that.
And I know you had brought it up earlier in the year too. So, and that's the other reason. I just want to keep you all informed.
Great news, yeah.
We're in a position to do it, and we all cross down at the bottom of Main Street, and George is nice but aware.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm going to be departing. For cheering.
Okay, you want to call on Alderman, well, I'll call on Alderman Gay. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't. Go ahead.
Very quickly. No, listen, I'm going to support it, this time around, because we don't have to use one-time funding. That was the issue. We had to remember, we were trying to figure out what amendments we would fund because we were running out of one-time funding, and this was like Amendment 30, so it was at the end. Quickly, is there any way we can put an emphasis on maybe hiring from some of our low-income communities for this? Because I'm assuming the hours are like 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening, or?
About that much. And we would be happy for older people to share the job openings with their constituents and their different community groups. I know Alderwoman Pendel Charles, when we post that, she shares it. Because those are the people we want. We want the people in the neighborhood who could maybe just walk out their door and go to the crossing and cross our kids to school.
Exactly, and I think again, I'm thinking of younger people in my communities. I'm hoping there are no drug tests, background checks, or for.
It's minimal. I mean, obviously, we don't want sex offenders working crossings, so we do some screening.
Of course, yeah. But I'm just thinking, like, if we maybe are getting somebody that's like 20 or 21, would there be any barriers? And also, will the cost increase when the city dock project is underway? Because then at that point, we'll need more crossing guards to manage the traffic at Dock Street. And so how does that work in the summertime? Like, will we be able to add 2 crossing guards or something maybe?
We may be able to do that. It would be something we'd have to look at and figure out where the best places to have them are. We generally have one at that area at Dock and Randall because there's a million crossing places and cars are trying to get through as well. Having, market space closed actually helps that somewhat. But the traffic circulation, especially at Dock and Randall, could really use some help because of all those crossing areas.
Mr. Malinow?
One closing anecdotal story is when I was acting in planning and zoning, that office has a window over to Main Street, and all the students would come over from St. Mary's to the candy store and to Starbucks, which sugar and caffeine is kind of a dangerous mix. And occasionally, and the English teacher and you will appreciate it, it became the Lord of the Flies over there. And I saw George kind of moving up the street, kind of keeping an eye on things and trying to keep order. And so that goes to the point of knowing the community and knowing the people. He really plays that role.
And so he actually serves more than the role of a crossing guard for us down there.
He certainly does. And that was an example of many.
So, thank you. And again, thank you for taking this and moving forward in spite of us. In spite of us. So, it's a need. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you both.
Thanks.
And the next item is the Finance Department update. Ms. Dickinson.
Yes, hello. Just to give you a quick update on what we're doing in the Finance Department. Been working on staffing, as always, some vacancies to fill. We have a cashier position open because our other cashier was promoted to go to purchasing. That office is now staffed. Purchasing is staffed because we're using a temp person there from a temp agency that's helping us out. And if, hopefully she'll work out and become long-term. So her position is open here. We're doing the interviews. We should be selecting somebody soon. We advertised the senior accountant that's supposed to be in charge of the accounts receivable collection process. And we're going to be making a decision on that soon. Our accounting manager position is open, and we have just promoted somebody within. So her position is going to be advertised soon as well. So we're continually, but we feel good about these changes, and hopefully we can get fully staffed very soon and start catching up with some of. We're doing our department budget meetings now. We've had several so far, and they're scheduled through the next couple weeks. There are initial discussions with the departments. And the draft of the FY23 financial statements, the annual comprehensive financial report, is now, it's a final draft. It's in the hands of the auditors, and now we're just waiting to hear any feedback from them. So that should be out within the next couple weeks. I also wanted to mention that the May hearings that we have with the departments, we need to schedule the department meetings. We had one of the departments ask us when they were when their hearing was in May, and I don't think we've set that schedule yet. And the Finance Committee typically does that.
I think the first step has been taken.
Okay.
I think Alderwoman O'Neill has done a draft for us.
Okay, that,
Yes, there's a draft on the Google Drive.
okay, good. So anyways, when that gets finalized, we'll inform the departments as they ask, you know, when their timing is, and I'm sure you'll be reaching out to them to tell them what time you've got them scheduled for, make sure that's okay with their schedule, because they're, you know, they have travel and things they've got going on as well, so.
I think the next step is to send it out to the department heads and
Okay.
give them an opportunity to confirm whether they can, you know, confirm with the schedule that we've given them.
All right.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Thank you. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet. I just posted it this morning to the Google Drive.
No, we just have a blank one.
Okay, I had sent one to Kaylin so that she could share it with the committee. It's pretty close to what last year's schedule was. It just changed a couple of things, but it gave more time for community grants to make presentations.
Okay, that was the addition to give community nonprofits an opportunity to present.
Correct.
So I think by the next meeting, we'll definitely have a schedule codified. If we can get the responses back. And it appears that none of the May dates are department dates, according to this draft. Caitlin's pulling it up, the completed one, but it's in the Google Drive? Okay. So, Ms. Dickinson, you should be able to pull it up, the draft.
This is the one for, this is what Congress said, and then when I get back down to my desk, I'm gonna put this on here where everybody is,
Okay.
so that everybody can see it, and then approve it.
So it's not in the format yet where everybody can see it?
No, this is just me and Karma. Right here is what she wants you to see.
Okay.
And then when I get back down to my desk, I'm going to finalize everything. I'll probably call Carmen so that, you know, because I haven't seen her today. So I'll call Carmen and see how she.
So it looks like, Ms. Dickinson, we will have a definite schedule, definitely by the next meeting.
Yeah, it only came up because one of the departments asked yesterday what time their hearing was, and I was like, okay, I don't think that's set yet, so.
Okay. Thank you. Does that end your report?
That's it, thank you.
Have we had the auditor's report from 2023?
That's what they're finalizing right now.
Okay.
You know, typically, every year we try to get that out by the end of the calendar year.
Right.
But it just, our bandwidth in finance is just not enough to be able to push that out the door that fast because we're pulled in different directions because of the staffing issues. So, you know, we're continually trying to get it out, but again, this year, I think most of the holdup was us, and it's just my bandwidth and Julie's bandwidth to get that out the door. It's a big project. It's not just, the numbers stopped moving a while ago. It's the putting together of that book, the comprehensive book, that's the real challenge. It's got a lot of different parts that have to be pulled together and compared, and we have to write management discussion and analysis on what the changes were in 23. There's a few different documents in there. We have to pull statistical information from various places. So it's quite an, yeah, there's pages and pages of footnotes we have to populate. So when the staff is busy doing the regular accounting stuff, it's Julie and then I'm doing the reviewing, and then we prepare it for the auditors and give it to them. So we're in those final stages. So I foresee it before the end of this month, but it is a couple months later than we'd like to have it.
Okay, well, we know it's coming, so that's the important thing. Recently, I had a discussion with some of my colleagues about our pending legislation and the need for the finance department to weigh in as to the fiscal impacts. We have some, I can't think at the moment which legislation I can, but I'd rather not call out any specific legislation. But I know that some of it is going to create another level of responsibility for the finance department. The legislation that speaks to public safety, for example, is going to have a fiscal impact note that is going to need to be accurate, I should say, I guess. And so I know that I just want you to know that we recognize that that's going to be another, and I don't want to use the word burden, but that's what keeps coming to my mind, another responsibility.
Yes, and as to that, I mean, normally as these things get put on the agenda, we're now trying, Katie puts together a fiscal note for the legislation pretty quickly. I mean, there's sometimes we miss one if it's put on at the last minute. Sometimes we don't get that. We're trying to get it before it's on first reader. Now, as far as the one that you're talking about, the public safety one with all the pages, so we're doing a combined staff report and fiscal impact discussion with that. I will say that a resolution is not a legally binding budget establishment, so it's just a list of the will of what the council wants. So there's really no fiscal impact until it gets into a budget ordinance or a budget motion of some kind. So literally, passing the resolution has no direct fiscal impact, as you know, but if we start implementing those and putting them into the budget, that's where the fiscal impact is shown. And the assistant city manager was putting together the staff report and the fiscal combination discussion. And I don't know what the status of that is. So I don't know what the status of that is.
So we're doing a combined staff report and fiscal impact, which includes, there are some things like what we talked about today with the crossing guards, where that's on the list, but it's done. Like we're actually, but it's done, right? And so some updates to, what are some of those numbers? What are some things that are already accounted for in other places? And some of that has been shifting. So, and just tracking down all of it, because obviously we're in the midst of some of those discussions now. So we're trying to get it finalized and in, because I know it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted you to know that we're aware that that's an additional responsibility, and we just have to work through it and take the time to work through it, I guess. So, thank you. Alderman Gay, did you have something to add?
No, I just was asking about I was just seeing if it would be in by Monday, because I think the resolution is supposed to be introduced Monday.
I think it's on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I think. Okay, or it will be. So, okay. If that ends your report, I think we have exhausted our agenda. Anything else for the good of the order?
To be fair, motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I'll second it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Work.